Governor Pritzker, for the first time, calling for the removal of President Trump from office.
This on the same day the president said dangerous cities like Chicago should be used as training grounds for the military.
We should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military, because we're going into Chicago.
This is absolutely devastating. What happened on Capitol Hill represents something that has never occurred in American history. And I need everyone to understand the magnitude of what Congress just did. House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a Republican and a Democrat, convened an emergency joint session and passed a bipartisan resolution demanding that President Trump immediately end his term through resignation. The vote was 265 to 170, with 45 Republicans joining Democrats to tell their own president his time is over. Tonight, not tomorrow, not next week. Tonight. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, please subscribe because you might think you are, but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. That's why we built John Brown Show, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. All right, let's get into what's actually happening. The Speaker of the House, a Republican, stood on the floor of Congress and demanded that a Republican president resign immediately. Mike Johnson, who has defended Trump through every scandal and every controversy and every outrage, stood next to Chuck Schumer and told Trump his presidency must end. That image alone tells you everything about how completely the political ground has shifted. The Republican Party has officially abandoned Donald Trump and is demanding he leave office before this situation gets any worse. Now let me walk you through why this is so devastating. The resolution language is extraordinary, stating that immediate voluntary relinquishment is urged, and that failure to comply constitutes an abdication crisis that will be resolved through constitutional mechanisms. Congress is giving Trump a choice: resign with whatever dignity remains, or face removal through other means. The resolution passed with 45 Republican votes, not just moderates from swing districts, but members from across the party, who have concluded there is no path forward that includes Trump remaining in office. Think about what that means. 45 Republicans, nearly a quarter of the Republican caucus, voting with Democrats to tell their president to leave. These aren't reluctant votes cast with heavy hearts. These are members who have seen everything unfolding, who have watched the crisis escalate, who have concluded that continued association with Trump is political suicide and moral bankruptcy. They are saving themselves by throwing Trump overboard, and they are not being subtle about it. Share this video with everyone you know, because Trump's response was captured on his live stream from Mar-a-Lago, and it was his most unhinged moment yet in a day full of unhinged moments. He screamed that Congress was demanding his head, called every member who voted for the resolution a traitor, said his term ends when he says it ends, not when Congress says, and not when judges say. And then he said the words that have law enforcement on high alert across the country: civil war starts now. The President of the United States just called for civil war on live video. The timing of this congressional action reflects a coordinated push to end this crisis, coming after multiple court orders, after testimony flipping against Trump, after everything collapsing simultaneously. Congress is taking the most dramatic action available to them. They are telling Trump to go voluntarily or be taken by force. Those are his only options. The scene in Washington is apocalyptic, with 200,000 protesters overwhelming every barrier. The full National Guard mobilized under federal control. The Capitol was evacuated after clashes between pro-Trump and anti-Trump demonstrators turned violent. Members of Congress cast their votes and then were escorted out of the building through secure tunnels. The riot emergency declaration has been expanded to cover the entire District of Columbia. This is what the end of a presidency looks like when the president refuses to accept reality. Make sure you're subscribed to John Brown Show, because the 45 Republican votes for this resolution represent the complete collapse of Trump's support within his own party. All it took was mounting evidence. All it took was courts issuing orders. All it took was the situation becoming untenable, and Republicans who spent years defending Trump finally said enough, finally voted to demand his resignation, finally chose country over party, or at least chose their own political survival over loyalty to Trump. Speaker Johnson's participation is particularly significant because he has been one of Trump's most reliable defenders throughout his political career. Johnson defended Trump during both previous impeachments. Johnson supported Trump's election challenges. Johnson has been a loyal MAGA Republican in every respect. And now Johnson is standing on the House floor demanding Trump's resignation. When Mike Johnson abandons you, you have been abandoned by the entire Republican establishment. When the Speaker says it's over, it's over. The resolution itself is not legally binding in the sense that it does not automatically remove Trump from office. Congress cannot simply vote to end a presidency through a resolution. That requires impeachment and conviction or the 25th Amendment process. But the resolution serves several critical purposes. It establishes the formal position of Congress that Trump must go. It provides political cover for Republicans to support removal. It puts Trump on notice that he has no allies left in the legislative branch. And it creates a historical record of Congress demanding resignation before other mechanisms are employed. Notice what the bipartisan nature of the resolution demonstrates. This is not a partisan attack. This is not Democrats trying to overturn an election. This is genuine consensus across both parties that Trump must be removed. 45 Republicans voted with Democrats. The 265 vote total exceeds the simple majority needed for impeachment. The message is unmistakable. Congress has lost confidence in the president and wants him gone immediately. Share this with everyone because the resolution's reference to abdication crisis, if Trump refuses, reflects congressional thinking about what happens next. Abdication in the constitutional context means a president who has effectively abandoned the duties of the office through inability or unwillingness to perform them. A president barricaded in Mar-a-Lago refusing to accept lawful court orders cannot perform presidential duties. The resolution is establishing the framework for declaring that Trump has abdicated regardless of whether he formally resigns. Trump's livestream response calling for civil war is being treated by law enforcement as an incitement to violence that creates imminent danger. The Department of Homeland Security has issued alerts to law enforcement agencies nationwide. The FBI has activated domestic terrorism protocols. Military installations have increased security postures. Everyone in a position of responsibility is taking the civil war threat seriously. Because Trump's supporters have a history of responding to his calls with violence, January 6th proved that. And this situation is even more volatile. The 200,000 protesters in Washington represent the largest demonstration in the city since the Vietnam era, and dwarf the January 6th crowd that stormed the Capitol. The mix of pro-Trump and anti-Trump demonstrators creates conditions for violence that authorities are struggling to contain. Clashes have already occurred. Injuries have been reported. The National Guard deployment is the largest domestic mobilization since the 1992 Los Angeles riots. The country is on the edge of serious civil unrest, and Trump's call for civil war just poured gasoline on that fire. The Capitol evacuation reflects genuine security concerns after demonstrators breached outer perimeter barriers. Members of Congress were escorted through underground tunnels to secure locations. The vote on the resolution was conducted under emergency procedures with limited floor debate. The building that represents American democracy was emptied because of fears it could be overrun for the second time in 5 years. The symbolism is devastating. Congress having to flee to vote on demanding the president resign. That's how broken our system has become under Trump. Governor Pritzker of Illinois is for the first time calling for the removal of President Trump from office. This on the same day Trump said dangerous cities like Chicago should be used as training grounds for the military. Trump saying we're going into Chicago very soon, that we should use dangerous cities as training grounds for our military. That's Trump threatening to deploy troops against American cities, against Americans, using military force domestically. That's what pushed Pritzker over the edge. That's what made him say there is something genuinely wrong with this man, and the 25th Amendment ought to be invoked. And Trump actually wants to send 100 military troops to Illinois. The likeliest will be from the Illinois National Guard, which Governor Pritzker has control over. So Trump is trying to force Pritzker to activate the Guard, to use Illinois' own troops against Illinois residents. Pritzker would have to pass along orders from the federal government to Illinois Guard leadership because he sits atop the Guard's chain of command. But legal experts say Pritzker could refuse if he deems the orders completely illegal, which he almost certainly would, leading to immediate legal proceedings to stop it. Share this video with everyone because think about what Trump is trying to do. He wants to use the military as training grounds in American cities. He wants to deploy troops to Illinois to protect ICE agents and facilities. He's threatening military action against Americans who oppose him. That's not law enforcement. That's not protecting the border. That's using military force to crush dissent, to intimidate political opponents, to create fear. That's dictator behavior. And governors like Pritzker are finally saying no, are finally invoking constitutional mechanisms to stop him. The testimony that came out earlier today provided the evidentiary foundation that made this congressional action possible. When officials confirm under oath that the president ordered evidence suppression and political purges, Congress cannot claim ignorance or uncertainty. The testimony removed the last fig leaf that Republicans were using to justify continued support. The facts are established, the crimes are confirmed. The only question is how Trump's tenure ends, voluntarily or by force. Court orders citing congressional inaction as enabling criminality put direct pressure on Congress to act. Judges essentially blamed Congress for allowing Trump to remain in office while committing ongoing crimes. That criticism stung, particularly for Republicans who have been making excuses for Trump's conduct. The resolution is partly a response to that judicial rebuke, Congress demonstrating that it is not complicit in Trump's criminality, that it is taking action, that it recognizes Trump must go. The connection to property seizures adds financial pressure to the political and legal pressure Trump is facing. Marshals are already at Mar-a-Lago executing fraud judgment liens. The same property where Trump is barricaded refusing to accept the congressional resolution is being seized to satisfy civil judgments. He is literally losing his home while losing his presidency. Everything is collapsing simultaneously. Financial ruin, political abandonment, legal jeopardy, all at once. Notice what the 25th Amendment discussions reveal. Cabinet members have been consulting throughout the day. The constitutional mechanism for declaring a president unable to discharge his duties exists and will be used if necessary. The congressional resolution makes cabinet action easier by demonstrating that both branches of government have lost confidence in Trump. Vice President Vance has been talking to cabinet members, getting commitments, preparing to invoke the 25th if Trump doesn't resign. That's the backup plan. That's what happens if Trump refuses to leave voluntarily. So let me break this down into the key points. Because when you understand what this congressional demand means, combined with everything else, you understand that Trump's presidency ends one way or another, and that his defiant response has only made the ending more dangerous for everyone. Point 1. The bipartisan resolution with 45 Republican votes demanding Trump end his term immediately represents the complete collapse of his political support. His own party has formally abandoned him. His own speaker is demanding his resignation. There is no political base left to defend him in Congress. The only people still supporting Trump are protesters in the streets, not the elected officials who would need to save him. Point 2. Speaker Mike Johnson joining Chuck Schumer to demand Trump's resignation shatters any illusion that this is a partisan attack or a Democratic plot. The Republican Speaker of the House is telling the Republican president to resign. That is not partisanship. That is the constitutional system functioning to remove a president who has lost the confidence of the entire government. When your own party's leadership demands you leave, you have no legitimacy left. Point 3. Trump calling for civil war on live video constitutes incitement that creates imminent danger and justifies the urgent timeline for removal. Law enforcement is treating this threat seriously. Military installations are on alert. The National Guard is mobilized. Everyone understands that Trump is attempting to incite violence to prevent his removal. That attempt will fail, but people may die because of his words. That's how serious this is. That's why Congress acted tonight instead of waiting. Share this with everyone because point 4, 200,000 protesters and Capitol evacuation demonstrates the civil unrest potential that makes rapid resolution essential. Every hour this crisis continues increases the risk of violence. The congressional resolution is aimed at ending Trump's presidency as quickly as possible to restore order before the situation deteriorates further, before clashes escalate, before people die in the streets. The urgency is real and justified. Point 5. The resolution's reference to abdication crisis establishes the framework for declaring Trump has abandoned his office if he refuses to resign. Congress is not waiting for formal removal procedures to complete. They are preparing to declare that Trump has effectively abdicated by refusing to accept the lawful authority of courts and Congress. That declaration would make Vance president immediately, without impeachment, without trial. Just a simple declaration that Trump has abandoned his duties. Point 6. Testimony and court orders removed any factual or legal ambiguity that Republicans were using to justify continued support. Officials confirmed crimes under oath. Federal judges found probable cause. There is nothing left to debate. The only question is whether Trump goes voluntarily or by force. Republicans can no longer pretend they don't know what Trump did, can no longer claim uncertainty. The evidence is overwhelming and undeniable. Point 7. The property seizures happening simultaneously with the political crisis mean Trump is losing everything at once. His presidency, his freedom, his property, his money, his family's future. There is no aspect of his life that is not collapsing tonight. The totality of the destruction is unprecedented for any American president. And it's all happening because Trump thought he was above the law, thought he could do anything without consequences. He was wrong. So what happens in the next few hours? And why does Trump's defiant response matter so much? We are in the final hours of this crisis, and Trump's call for civil war has raised the stakes dramatically. Law enforcement must now prepare for the possibility of armed resistance. The potential for violence is higher than at any point in modern American history. The immediate question is whether any of Trump's supporters will respond to his call for civil war with actual violence. The history of January 6th shows that some will interpret his words as a call to action. Law enforcement is preparing for that possibility. The National Guard is deployed, federal agents are positioned, but no one knows what will happen when authorities approach Mar-a-Lago, when they come to enforce court orders, when they come to execute arrest warrants. Trump has called for resistance. Some of his supporters will answer that call. The question is, how many and how violent? The resignation option remains available to Trump until the moment other actions are taken. He could go on television tonight and announce his resignation effective immediately. He could spare the country the trauma of what comes next. He could preserve some shred of dignity, but nothing in his behavior suggests he will take that option. He has chosen defiance, and his supporters are mobilizing for confrontation. Share this video with everyone because the 25th Amendment invocation will proceed if Trump does not resign. Cabinet members are prepared to sign the declaration that Trump is unable to discharge his duties. The evidence of that inability is overwhelming. A president calling for civil war and refusing to accept lawful court orders is a president who cannot function in the office. Vance will become acting president, and the constitutional transfer of power will occur regardless of whether Trump accepts it. The impeachment process becomes redundant if Trump is removed through other mechanisms first. Congress has made clear through the resolution that they want Trump gone immediately. They are not waiting for the formal impeachment timeline. They are using every available mechanism to end this presidency. The resolution, the 25th Amendment, whatever works fastest, whatever prevents more violence, whatever restores stability. The international response is already underway, with allied nations issuing statements and preparing for instability in American leadership. The president calling for civil war affects global markets and international security. American allies are worried. American adversaries are opportunistic. The world is watching the United States potentially tear itself apart over one man's refusal to accept accountability. Our standing in the world has never been lower. Our credibility has never been more damaged. And for Trump personally, these are his final hours as president. Congress has abandoned him. Courts have issued orders against him. His own cabinet is preparing to remove him. His properties are being seized. Officials have testified against him. There is nothing left to fight for and no one left to fight with. The only choice remaining is whether he accepts the end with whatever grace he can muster, or whether he goes out screaming for civil war. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because the resolution has been passed, the ultimatum has been delivered. By morning this crisis reaches its conclusion one way or another. Trump will either resign or be removed through the 25th Amendment or face other constitutional mechanisms. But he will not remain president. Congress has spoken, Republicans have abandoned him, the system is finally working to remove him. Governor Pritzker's call for removal using the 25th Amendment reflects what many governors are thinking. Trump threatening to use military in their cities. Trump trying to force them to activate National Guard against their own residents. Trump creating chaos and violence. Governors are done with it, are calling for his removal, are supporting whatever mechanism gets him out fastest. Trump saying Chicago should be used as training grounds for the military is insane. Saying we're going into Chicago very soon is threatening. Saying dangerous cities need military occupation is unconstitutional. That's not how America works. That's not what the military is for. That's not acceptable in a democracy. And Pritzker is right to say there's something genuinely wrong with Trump. Right to invoke the 25th Amendment. Right to demand removal. The legal battle over Illinois National Guard activation shows the complexity. Trump wants to federalize the Guard. Pritzker controls the Guard as governor. Trump's orders would have to go through Pritzker, who could deem them illegal and refuse, leading to court battles. But those battles take time, and Trump doesn't have time. Congress just demanded his resignation. The 25th Amendment is being prepared. Trump's time is measured in hours, not days. Share this with everyone because the 100 troops Trump wants to send to Illinois to protect ICE agents and facilities reveals his priorities. Not protecting Americans, not serving the public, but protecting federal agents terrorizing communities, using military force to shield ICE from accountability. That's what Trump thinks the military is for, and that's why governors are rebelling, why Congress is demanding resignation, why the entire system is finally saying no. The emergency joint session convened by Johnson and Schumer was unprecedented. Never in American history have the Speaker and Majority Leader jointly convened an emergency session to demand a president resign. That's how serious this is. That's how united Congress has become in recognizing Trump must go. The procedural mechanics of that session will be studied for generations. But the substance is clear. Congress demanding Trump leave office immediately. The vote total of 265 exceeds what would be needed for impeachment in the House, shows that support for removing Trump exists, that if it came to an impeachment vote, Trump would be impeached, that if it came to a Senate trial, Trump might be convicted. The numbers are there. The political will is there. The only question is which mechanism gets used. Resignation, 25th Amendment, or impeachment and removal. Trump's live stream from Mar-a-Lago will be remembered as one of the most deranged moments in presidential history. Screaming about Congress demanding his head, calling members traitors, refusing to accept constitutional authority, then calling for civil war. That's not a president. That's someone who has completely lost touch with reality, who thinks he's above the law, who thinks he can resist the entire government. He can't, and he's about to find out. The underground tunnel evacuations of Congress members show how dangerous the situation has become. Members voting on demanding the president resign, then fleeing through tunnels for their safety, because protests have turned violent, because Trump supporters and opponents are clashing, because Trump called for civil war. That's where we are. Congress members afraid for their lives after voting to end Trump's presidency. Notice what the riot emergency declaration covering all of DC reveals. This is not a protest. This is potential insurrection. This is 200,000 people in the streets with violence breaking out. This is National Guard fully mobilized. This is the largest domestic deployment in decades. All because Trump refuses to accept that his presidency is over. All because he called for civil war. All because he won't leave peacefully. The Capitol being emptied again after January 6th is devastating symbolism. Twice in 5 years, the seat of American democracy evacuated because of Trump. Twice Congress forced to flee for safety. Twice our system pushed to the breaking point. But this time Congress is fighting back. This time they're demanding Trump leave. This time they're not letting him get away with it. So where does this leave us? Congress has passed a bipartisan resolution with 45 Republican votes demanding Trump resign immediately. Speaker Johnson has abandoned Trump. The Republican Party has abandoned Trump. Cabinet members are preparing to invoke the 25th Amendment. Governors are calling for removal. Courts have issued orders. Testimony has exposed crimes. Properties are being seized. 200,000 protesters are in the streets. Violence is breaking out. Trump has called for civil war, and the entire system is mobilizing to end his presidency one way or another. Trump can resign tonight with some dignity, or he can be removed through the 25th Amendment, or he can face impeachment and conviction, or he can be arrested and physically removed. Those are his options. Congress has made that clear. Republicans have made that clear. The system has made that clear. Trump's time is over, whether he accepts it or not. This is the end of Trump's presidency playing out in real time. This is what accountability looks like when a president goes too far. This is constitutional mechanisms being used as designed. This is Congress finally doing its job. This is Republicans finally choosing country over Trump. This is the system working, slowly, messily, dangerously, but working. We will know how this ends. Whether Trump resigned, whether the 25th Amendment was invoked, whether arrests were made, whether violence occurred, whether civil war actually started or Trump's call was ignored, we will know if America's institutions survived this test, if democracy held, if accountability won. Congress has spoken. 265 votes demanding Trump leave. 45 Republicans joining Democrats. Speaker Johnson standing with Chuck Schumer. The resolution passed. The ultimatum delivered. Trump screaming from Mar-a-Lago, calling for civil war, refusing to accept reality. But reality doesn't care. The votes are in. The decision is made. Trump must go, and he will, one way or another, tonight. This story continues. Stay tuned.